Hey everyone, my name is Shane A. Bassett, the movie analyst. Coming at you from New South Wales, Australia, and I'm going over to England today to say hello to Meghan Adara. Hey,
Oh, hi.
really pleased to meet you. I've seen a bit of your work, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But I think you've got a long career ahead of you. Yeah, what I've seen is pretty good so far.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been at the start it was very like shaky. And there are days where I'm just like, what am I doing? Why did I decide to do this? Like it's so hard, but I really like enjoy it and
Yeah,
I'm starting to see it going somewhere, which is like really nice because it feels good that all that hard work and persistence that you're putting in is actually, you know, starting to amount to something, which is really fun to see. So yeah, I'm excited to see what the future holds for my acting career.
yeah, well, I am too. And we'll talk about a particular movie, The Cellar, in a moment.
Yeah.
But first, can you go back down memory lane for me? Why did you start becoming an actor and performing? Is it something you always wanted to do when you grew up, or it just fell into your lap?
Um, Kind of a mixture. When I was younger, like I used to put on like little like shows just with like my friend, like my one of my friends
Yep,
likes acting. Not like she doesn't do acting now, but it was kind of like an interest she did when she was younger. So
yep.
we used to put on these like little like shows, like princessy shows, and we got dressed up and we'd perform it to like our parents.
Nice.
Um, it wasn't like I enjoyed it, but I didn't think it would like, to be honest, I didn't think it was a career. I just thought it was like children being children, putting
Sure.
on pretend. Um, and then one day I was over at her house and she had a theatre group in the evening and they were going to drop me home. But she was like, oh, well, if Megan wanted to come, like she could come. And I was like, what? And she was like, did you want to come to the theatre? I was like, no, I don't want to go. And
Yeah.
she was like, but you really like acting, like you might enjoy it. And I'm like really, really shy. So I didn't really like know if I was gonna like it. Eventually I got dragged along, was super nervous. And it was only a trial run. So if I didn't like it, I didn't have to go back. But I ended up really, really enjoying it, and continued to go. And I went for about 2 or 3 years, I think, after that. Um, and it like kind of gave me this confidence to do it at school. Um, I had some health issues when I was younger.
Okay.
So in year 7, I was completely out of school. So I didn't get to do drama at school. So I didn't really know what it was going to be like. So when we went into year 8 and we had to choose our options, I was like umming and ahhing as to whether to take drama as
Yeah.
an option. And purely from going to that group, I decided to do GCSE drama. And then from there, I went, college, university, and yeah, here we are. Yeah.
That's amazing. Because if you had complications with your health, that could have stopped anything. I don't know what it
Yeah.
was, but did that give you the energy or the ambition to even do it more and come back?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't mind saying what issues I had. So when I was younger, 10 months, I had acute myeloid leukemia.
Oh,
And when I was 11, I had a heart transplant. So it was quite difficult. It was like being taken in and out of school.
yeah,
And um, yeah, when I was in year 7, the reason I wasn't at school is because I had my heart transplant. So I didn't get to do the drama. And I really, really enjoyed it because it wasn't an option then. It was just this little like fun, creative like thing.
yeah,
Um, Trying it out to see if it was an option you wanted, but I got taken out of it. So I didn't really get to know the full like how it was going to work for an option.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, going in and out of hospital when I was younger was like obviously really difficult for my like education. And like the
Oh,
teachers were like trying to like be really like nice to me. But yeah, I feel like my health issues have pushed me to do it. Like I don't want them to hold me back.
Yeah.
Uh, Usually I don't really say to employers that I
Yeah.
have health issues, just in case they see me as like, oh, she won't be able to do this because of this and that. And they
A
like sometimes,
liability or something.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes I'm like on jobs and like, are you sure you can do it? Like, and I'm like, yes, I can do it. But the only reason they know about my health issues because I would have had contact with someone else. So I got it through networking. So they've
Yeah.
heard about my health issues and they get a bit like funny about it.
Okay.
So I don't really usually say, but um, I know that Jamie and everyone else on the film knows. So yeah. And also it's interesting to say it's a little bit different
Yeah.
people. So yeah.
Well, yeah, you've certainly knocked me for six over the fence because honestly, I wasn't expecting that. And for someone to go through that and an actual heart transplant and keep going the way you're
Mm.
going, such a young age, well, again, I said well done at the start of this interview. Now I'm even, I'll triple that. Well done.
Oh, thank yeah. Yeah. I just pushes me, I guess. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, no. And Jamie, you just mentioned as the director of The Cellar. And again, one more question before we get to that. Do you remember your first project when you decided to do this, maybe for a living or for real? Do you remember that
Yeah, I
first
do.
project you booked?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it?
It wasn't that great. It was a student film.
Yeah.
Um, so I went through a period of when I was still at college and I was studying acting and I really enjoyed it, but I still didn't think that it was gonna be like a
Mm.
proper like career. Like I was gonna give it a go, but I was like, oh, if like I don't get any jobs, like I'll just stop and get like a what people call a proper job. Um,
Yeah.
and I was working at Next as well, so I didn't really get to do a lot of acting. It was kind of like this thing of like, this is what I want to do, but I've got to earn money. Um,
Yeah.
and then I met my boyfriend through a friend.
Yeah.
Um, and turns out that his uncle and his auntie are quite famous actors and playwrights. So we
Wow.
had an interest there. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And he purely, Luke, my boyfriend, he's the one I would say is the reason I'm at this point now, because I didn't really have, like, my mum doesn't really believe that acting is a real job.
Okay.
So she finds it a little bit odd that I'm doing it. Um, and purely because of Luke, I pushed myself to continue doing it.
Sure.
And you just gotta like continue like working at it, like that's what you want to do, like don't like give up on it. Um, and then I carried on doing it and I started to see like actual like, you know, work coming and I was like, oh my God, this is like amazing. So my first job was a short film in Brighton, the University of Brighton. And it was just basically like this sci-fi like short
Okay.
film,
Okay.
um,
Yep.
about a guy, like three flatmates and I'm the only female flatmate in the house. And one of the guy flatmates is like in his room, and we haven't seen him for like days, and we're like really concerned about him.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, we're like listening at his door, like trying to like hear if he's in there, like, looking underneath like the door. And then all of a sudden, we see this like green light like shining from underneath the door. And we're like, what is happening? Um, and then he like opens the door and his like cupboard doors are open and he's like disappeared. Like,
Ah,
to be honest, I don't really know where he went because it didn't like specify in the script. But that was my first short film. And it was really it was interesting. I didn't really know how a proper set ran.
yeah.
Um, and it was just basically like a bunch of students being students, all of us like having a laugh and um like, oh, is this like you what you want to do? And like, oh, like I have an interest in it. Like, I don't know if I'd like do it as like a real career, but I just thought it'd be a bit of fun. And
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like, oh, you want to do it for real? And I'm like, yeah.
of
And they're like,
course. Yeah.
okay, it's your first film. And I was like, yeah. So it was a learning curve.
Mm.
On that set, but it was a lot of fun. Like I went away being like, I actually did an acting job and it was paid. Like this is amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
what was the name of the short film?
It was called Voop.
Voop. Okay.
Yeah. V
I'll,
O O P.
I'll be researching that and trying to find it.
God. Yeah.
It's probably nowhere, but short films are interesting. Like you say, they can create, you can get a sense of what goes on. And some short
Mm,
films, whether they're amateur or not, you can, you're developing skills on them for sure.
yes. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Now, The Cellar, it's kind of a fundraising film, independent. It's horror. Is that correct? I don't. I'm trying to
Sci-fi horror.
avoid,
Yeah.
yeah, trying to avoid too many spoilers on it. And uh, you're the lead. So is this your first lead role, or and how did it come about? How did Jamie handpick
Um,
you or audition for it?
so it's my first lead in a feature film,
Yeah,
which is a lot of pressure. Um, because
yeah,
I we're not filming like every day, so it's not like it's like really like hard and I'm like tired. It's
mm,
just like I don't know how to like I want to make it good and I want people to watch it and be like I believe what she's going through.
yeah,
And that can be difficult for me because I'm like putting this like so much like pressure on myself to be like, no, you need to do it again. To the point that sometimes Jamie's like, Megan's like, stop, we don't need another take. Please, we got it. And I'm like, are you sure? Um, and I like to watch each take back to
okay,
make sure if I feel like it's gone well and I'm happy with it, I won't watch the take back. If I'm a little bit unsure, I'm like, can I watch that? And if I don't like it, I will do it again and
yeah,
again. Um, so yeah, it's my first lead in a feature.
mm,
I've had leads in short films before.
mm,
So I kind of have some experience of being a lead, but obviously it's
mm.
now at a bigger um scale. And the film's getting quite a lot of like interest,
Yeah.
which I didn't expect it to get, like not at this point. Like I thought it was gonna get interest when the film was done and it was getting marketed and but Jamie's like been on the marketing like from the start. And it was meant to be a short film. This was meant to be a short film.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't go in expecting to be a lead in a feature film. I went in expecting to be a lead of a short film.
Yeah.
And he was like, we're gonna film a proof of concept and then we're gonna try and get funding. And if we get funding, we're gonna turn it into a feature film. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Like I'm definitely up for that. Didn't think that I would also like once the proof of concept was done, I wasn't under the impression that he would invite me back to be a lead.
Oh, really?
No. Um, I don't know what, I just have this like self-doubt, I guess. So I
Sure.
didn't think I
Okay.
was good enough. So yeah, but then without even like saying that it was turned into a feature film, he just sent me a feature film script and was like, this is what we're filming. Can you do these dates? And I was like, oh, okay. So it's more than a short film now. It's a feature film.
Oh,
Um,
so
so I
good.
kind of feel like it took the pressure away of being like, oh my God, like I'm a lead of a feature film. So yeah, so he contacted me on
Yeah.
Facebook because we've done projects together before.
Yep.
Um, and he just messaged me and he was like, hey, I've written this film. Um, I'm planning on filming on this date in this month. Would you be interested in being a part of it? I'll send the script over and you can tell me what you think. And I was like,
Oh,
okay, cool. So I read the script and it was like, I loved it. Um, and I was like, yeah, 100%. I want to be part of it. Like Jamie and I worked together before, we get on really well.
That's good.
Uh, yeah. And so I literally just like that. And then I was reading it and there was two roles. There was an opening scene and there's the main girl. And
Okay.
I thought he wanted me to be the opening scene like I did in
The caller.
um The Caller. And I was like, oh, I'm assuming I'm playing the opening scene. And he was like, no, I want you to be the main actor. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'll do it. Still under the assumption that it was a short film.
Right.
Uh, so I didn't audition. Um,
That's
but
good.
yeah, but Jamie and I have done like some horrors before,
Mm,
and some like dramery things together before,
mm,
as actors. Um, so I'm guessing he knew that I had the ability to
mm.
do what he wanted the script was, you know, asking me of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got into it, yeah.
Jamie's done a lot of hard work to get this movie set up, obviously, and then extended into a feature. So
Yeah.
I'm stoked for him for that.
Mm,
But with you, I mean, it's early days, so we don't want to know too much about
yeah.
the spoilers. But
Mm,
can you describe your character or what happens a little bit to your character, the setup?
okay. Um, I won't go into her backstory because I
No.
feel like it will give a too much.
Good.
Um,
Yeah.
so basically, she is in this church cult, um,
Mm,
and she asked too many questions that she
mm,
started to get a bit suspicious.
mm,
And then one day she wakes up and she's like in this cellar, um, with no way out, doesn't understand how she got there, no recollection of like what happened previously or, you know, what happened to get her to this point.
yeah.
Um, all she knows is that she is in danger and she needs to get out. And if she doesn't get out, she is, well, I'm guessing she thinks that she's gonna die.
Mm, mm,
But obviously she's just in this absolute like panic of like, where am I?
mm,
Why am I here? I need to get out. I need to find help. Um, and basically it follows the church congregation, and you'll find out in the film what happens to them,
mm.
and her basically trying to escape from
Okay.
them. Yeah. So it's
Ooh.
kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you had me at cult because movies about
Yeah.
cults can be really interesting and scary and unknown to
Yes.
most people, obviously. And it sounds like your character gets dirty, down and dirty a bit if locked up in a cellar. Anything could
Yes.
happen.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so did it
Then
did it push your acting ability for one being a lead and two, I'm assuming you're by yourself acting a lot solo?
yeah. So what we filmed so far is there was one day actually in a cellar,
Mm,
at this hotel that we filmed at. And Jamie hired that out.
mm,
Had so Wayne and Charlie were their other actors in the film.
okay.
Um, they so I wasn't acting with them, but we had other cast members on set. After they did their bit, they went off, and then it was just me.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, it was kind of like daunting because I was watching her and I was like, oh my God, like she's doing a really good job. Like, what if I like I can't do it? Because I can cry on cue.
Okay.
Um, and I think that's why Jamie got me to do it because there's quite a lot of like like it doesn't necessarily say crying in the script, but obviously that's like the point that she is at.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
so I think that's why he got me to do it because he knew I could do it. But I went in and I was like, she did a really good job. And I'm like, oh my God, like what if I can't cry? Like
yeah.
what if I can't do it? And I was getting really stressed. But then we filmed that scene, and it was so much fun. I was like, I went in being like, oh my God, like I got to do a really good job, like looking at all my notes, that the scripts, like constantly, like this is what she does, this is what I
Yeah.
need to do. Um, And then literally the moment the camera started rolling, all that like stress just went away.
Yeah,
And it was just like it flowed. And I think working with Jamie and with Richard before on the caller also took away those nerves.
of course, I would.
Um, so yeah, it's kind of a lot of acting on my own. Um, but we have filmed some scenes where there has been other cast members on set and I have
Yeah,
acted with them. But it's not a lot of acting with other people.
right.
Because she's trying to like escape from them. She doesn't really want to interact with them.
No.
Uh, so it's kind of like just little like glimpses of actors, and then they like all come in and they just go, and I'm like still here. Like we did a film, we did a scene the other day. It was from 9 a.m. and I
Yeah.
didn't finish till 12. And all these actors came in, and I was like, they were all leaving, and I'm like, Jamie's like, we've got another scene to do, and I'm like, another one? Like it's already 10 p.m. Like, are you serious?
Oh,
And
so you're
you know,
saying
like,
9 a.m. You said 12, but you mean to midnight.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
boy, that's a
yeah.
long,
And it was like
long
an hour
day.
and a half journey to set, so it
Oh,
wasn't, yeah. So and I was like really
commitment.
tired. But once you like start filming, I think the acting kind of gave me adrenaline
Yeah,
to do it.
yeah.
But yeah, so it's
Okay.
acting with people, but kind of mainly on my own, which is a different experience.
Oh, yeah. And it would bring different layers of personality and acting out of you too, especially long days like that. The
Yeah.
adrenaline would kick in.
Mm.
How many more days of filming? People, if listening or watching this, can get on board and look it up
Mhm.
online and
Yep.
maybe donate because there are incentives when you.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've done 5 days and we've got three more, I
Mm,
think, maybe three or four. They haven't been like locked in like date wise.
mm,
um I know that Richard's busy doing his feature film, so we're kind of at a break at the moment. But yeah, so we have an Indiegogo to
mm,
raise just some extra funds to be able to book the final locations.
mm,
um and I don't know all the incentives
mm.
because there's quite a few.
Yeah,
But
there
I
are a
know that,
few.
yeah, I know that you can come to set, you can get like a signed scripts and like photos of behind the scenes. You can win a role in the film, which I think's really cool. And for anyone who's like starting out in acting, like you get an opportunity to experience what a real like set is like and
Yeah.
network with people. I think that was really cool.
Oh,
If it was
yeah.
me, I would have done that. I think that was really cool. And then there's also like producers, like executive producers, which is where we've made most the like funds. People are just so interested in being a
Well,
part of the
that's
film.
great. You can have your
Yeah.
name in the credits. And that's a
Yes.
big
Yes.
deal. That's fun. You're at the premiere and you're watching your name on the big screen. I reckon that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely. I would definitely. Um.
Yes.
What's it called?
You
Donate
get
if
involved.
it wasn't my film. If I wasn't involved, I mean, I could donate. Now I think about it, I could. Maybe I
If
should.
if you donated, you'd become an instant producer then as well.
Yeah.
And that'd
Yeah.
be on your CV,
Maybe.
actor,
Yeah.
producer.
Yeah.
There you,
Mm.
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I'll link everything on my social media once this interview is posted.
Yeah.
We'll refer it back to Jamie or yourself, or because Jamie's got them all listed on his social media as well. So that's probably the easiest way, or the website itself. But that's great. That's really good. Is there any timeline on when it's getting released, or it has to get like I guess sold theatrically, or is it streaming, or is that a little bit too far ahead to know yet?
Um, I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Sure. All right.
Um, Jamie hasn't really given me like, you know, the lowdown on like what I can and can't say. Um,
That's all right. I'm just
so
being me
yeah,
because I'm a journalist and I'm just asking.
yeah, it's fine.
Cool.
I think the film will be coming out at the end of the year, possibly start of next year.
Sure.
But it hasn't been
No.
like confirmed, so I'm not, yeah.
Well, even the biggest blockbusters can set a date and then they move dates.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
anything can happen. Let's get through it first, do the
Yeah.
awesome work that you're doing, and then we'll go from there. I can't wait. The closer it gets on, I'll be promoting it myself. And
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. Yeah, thank you.
just talking to you about it makes me even more interested than I was already.
Oh,
So
good.
it'll lead
Good.
to other lead roles, hopefully, for you. And
Hopefully,
uh,
yeah. Yeah. That'd be really cool. Yeah.
now, it was interesting before you said you could cry on cue because that's not something every actor can do. And with CGI, you can have fake tears now anyway. Obviously,
Yeah.
that look so real. But
Mm,
what about accents? Are you any good at accents? The Australian accent, maybe?
no.
No.
Um, I can do, please don't make me do them
I'm
because
not going to ask you. No, I'm not like
I
that.
haven't.
But I'm interested to know if
Um,
you can actually do accents.
yeah, so I have if I have an audition or a role that requires a different accent,
Yeah.
um, I have an accent coach that I go to.
Right.
Um, so I can I've learned to do Texan accent,
Oh, wow.
um,
Okay.
Brooklyn, General American, and I've actually got another feature film coming out, which is set in Chicago, so I got to
Yeah.
do a Chicago accent for it. But they're the only oh, and I've done Leeds as well. I've done a Leeds accent. So yeah. So I'm kind of like okay at them. I just need that like tutoring to get it
Yep.
because before I couldn't do a Texan accent to save my life. Um, but
Okay.
now it's like my favorite accent. Sometimes I will just do it and I just stay in the accent. I just find it really fun. So yeah, they're the couple of accents I can do. Hmm.
Well, I've heard of Leeds. I know it's a place, and I know
Yeah,
I like rugby league, and I know that they have a team called the Leeds Rhinos.
yeah,
But I never knew that they had their own accent, a Leeds
yeah,
accent. So
yeah,
that's I
they
know
do.
there's a Yorkshire accent too, isn't it? Is in UK there's different
Mhm.
accents, isn't there, for different
Yeah,
areas? Okay,
yes, yeah.
all
There's
right.
like Yorkshire, Birmingham, Liverpool, Leeds. There's so
Right.
many just
Wow.
for England. Yeah.
And where did you grow up? Like you were talking about a pub. Your parents, or was it your mum, or someone owned a pub? Where was that? And is that where you grew up as a child in that area?
Yeah. I grew up in the pub industry, which was very an interesting childhood, I shall say. Um, so I was born in Worthing, which is like 10 minutes drive from Shoreham. But I was brought up in Shoreham. And my dad, before he met my mum, he
Yep.
had a pub. And when they got married,
Yep.
and then eventually divorced, my mum took the pub over.
Okay.
So literally from the moment I was born, I was brought up in a pub. Um, so
Wow.
yeah, it was when I was younger, it used to be a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and all my friends wanted to like come to the like basically they wanted to be my friend purely because I had a pub. They thought it was super cool.
Yeah.
And then we used to go to like cash and carry. And I take my scooter with me and we'd like scooter around the cash and carry.
Wow. Okay.
With like these massive tubs of like sweets that we would like go mental over. Um, and yeah, all my friends used to come to the pub to hang out. Um, and
Was
yeah,
there a spot at the pub for kids, or were you allowed in the area? What's the age restriction? In Australia, you need to be 18 to
yeah.
be, but there are some areas where you can take kids into a pub, but they got to stay in that area.
Yeah, so my pub was called the Red Lion,
Right.
um, and it's a 16th century coaching house.
Right.
Um, it was it's grade 2 listed. So it's like an oldie worldy pub, like you would walk in and it feels like old,
Old
like there's
school.
like history in it. Um, so children used to, like, families would come. It's like a very family
Okay.
orientated
Well,
like
that's
pub.
good.
So there was like a garden, and then they would all like hang out in the garden. And then literally my mum didn't really mind. Obviously, it was like a family pub. So families would bring their children. They'd like all come for like dinner or like roast dinners.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so there wasn't necessarily a designated area for children.
No.
Um, but they used to run up and down the garden, or they'd have great fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's great. As long as you weren't drinking too many pints at a young age,
No.
right?
No.
That's good. Good to hear. Uh, when it comes to roles, like going through roles and picking what you want to do and projects, is there anything you won't do? Are there restrictions, or are you happy to broaden your
Mm,
range? Do you look at
yeah,
things and go, no, I can't do that?
yeah. Some with the accents.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Audition for the Texan accent. I was like, oh, I can't do that. I won't apply. And then I actually thought about it and I was like, well, they'd give me time to learn a Texan accent. So
yeah,
that's actually the only reason I learned a Texan accent, because I saw a casting call and I was like, at first, no, I can't do that. I'm not going to apply. And
yeah,
then I had another thought about it. I was like, no, actually, why don't you push yourself and try and learn one? Um, but I want to try and get into like comedy, because I haven't done comedy like
that's
at
hard.
all.
Comedy can
Yes.
be quite hard to
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. Um, I like, not like, kind of like dry sense of humor.
Oh, yeah,
It's kind of still, got a bit of like seriousness and drama in it.
yeah,
And I take myself completely seriously, but what I'm saying and how I act it makes people laugh, that sort of thing.
yeah, okay.
Which is what I would like to get into. I do have a couple of like comedy projects which is kind of like that.
Oh,
Um, so that one of them is written by um comi what's it? Comedy, like, oh my God, I can't say the word. What are they called?
comedian, comedy writer,
By comedians, that's the one.
satirist.
Um, yeah. Yeah, it's written by comedians and
Okay,
they are in the comedy circuit.
okay.
But the first day I turned up to set, I was like, oh my God, like these are genuine like comedy like people. Like, what if I'm not funny? Um, but they're also like laid back and like,
Mm,
obviously because they make jokes, they just made you feel really comfortable.
mm,
Uh,
mm.
and it was scripted, but then they went off script because they're comedians. So
Of
yeah, it was a lot
course,
of
that
fun.
makes sense. Yeah.
Mm. But I wouldn't do now. I wouldn't do like any like um sexual
Mm,
like roles,
yeah,
anything like nudity or anything like that. That's a kind of like a no-go for me at the moment.
yeah.
But
Good. Well, that's a deal breaker for a lot of actors, of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
And you can get around that. Like, as far as I'm concerned, even if it's in the script and they really
Mm,
want you, so they really
yeah.
want you for the role, they can get around that. It's just stuff you can, yeah, I think that's a fair enough deal breaker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not an actor, I'm just a reporter, um, movie analyst. What's it like booking roles? Is it hard to get auditions? Do you have to do self tapes in the UK? I know in Australia there's a lot of self tapes that get done these days
Yeah.
with other actors that I know. What about in the UK? How do you book roles mostly?
So it's pretty much the same as what you mentioned, self-tapes.
Mm,
Obviously, before COVID, you would go into
yeah.
in-person auditions, but they've kept it with the self-tape.
Mm,
So usually you apply, they look at your show reel,
mm,
um, if they think that you're a good fit for the role, they'll invite you to audition,
Mm,
which will be over self-tape, and then you send
mm.
it off. Sometimes you get cast from just doing one self-tape,
Oh, good.
um, or sometimes there's like stages to it.
Yeah, yeah.
So typically it's like two. Like you get a recall if they liked you in the recall, you'll get booked from the recall. But I have had auditions where it's been a three stage audition.
Mm,
Um, and that was like really stressful because it's an added like audition step.
I get
And
it.
it was they call that one a chemistry read. So they get someone in that they like with
Mm,
another person that they like and see if they would make, a good like relationship on
mm,
camera.
mm,
Um, so yeah, most of my work that I get is from self-tapes. Um, I do have an agent, but I feel like getting like agent jobs, like,
mm.
that everyone's going up for is like
Casting
so
calls. Yeah,
difficult. Yeah, it's so difficult. I mean, most of my work that I have had and have coming up is purely from on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just like looking constantly, which also becomes kind of like a side job because
yeah,
not only are you wanting to act and acting is your job, you also have this side job where you have to be constantly looking
yeah,
for like new opportunities
yeah.
and putting yourself out there. So yeah, it can be like hard, very hard work, but yeah.
Well, that's good. Casting calls still happen. I'm aware of that, but that's when, like you say, everyone turns up. It's huge normally.
Yes.
So the fact you're going on social media to search or actually gain work is pretty
Mm,
amazing in this modern age of finding work. That's
yeah.
motivation for you as well to just keep looking and searching. If you,
I mean,
people,
my whole Facebook feed used to be a personal Facebook. It's now just an
yeah,
acting Facebook account. Like I
fair
was
enough.
thinking of getting rid of my Facebook because I don't use it.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
either.
and then I got told about all these different acting like communities. So I literally I've only used Facebook for casting calls. That's well, the only time I ever use it.
Well, again, congratulations, because that's a different way of going about things and getting work. And
Yeah.
you'll end up at the BAFTAs one day. You never know.
I hope so. I really hope so. Yeah.
Well, the BAFTAs are unique because they have, and I'm a very big awards person. I love awards season, and
Mm,
the BAFTAs have their Rising Star Awards. So,
yeah.
that's an option. That you never know. You keep doing the work you're doing, someone
Yeah.
will take notice.
I hope so. Yeah. That is like a goal of mine.
Okay. How
Yeah.
do you remember your monologues? How do you remember lines? Do they come naturally, or like the night before? Do you cram them? How do you go about
Um,
remembering lines?
so the moment I get an audition, even if it's like sometimes auditions, they like give you quite a lot of time to send the self-tape off.
Yeah.
Um, Even from the day that I get it, I'm learning the lines, because I want to make sure that I have it in my memory,
Oh, yeah.
and that
Yeah.
it kind of becomes like a muscle memory. So by the time I get to go do it, it sounds as natural as it can, and I'm not stood there like, oh my God, like I can't remember what the lines are.
Yeah.
Um, so I do this thing where um, I get a pen and a paper
Yeah.
and I read the script and I read it up to a point that I can remember. Um, and then I write it down like multiple times until I'm not
Right.
looking at the script anymore and I can remember it. And I fold the paper over so I can't see what I've written before. And then after a few times of doing that with the rest of the script, I'll then rewrite the whole script without having the script in front of me just to double check that I've got it locked in there.
Okay. That's impressive.
Some people say it's quite difficult. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, an impressive process because that'd be hard.
Yeah, I thought it was normal until I was in college. I got invited to talk to some New Year like people entering college, and
Okay.
I just gone on to the level 3 course, and these were level 2, and I got invited to go in and talk, and they were like, "So how do you remember your lines?" And I like put my hand up and I said it, and they all just looked at me, and even the teacher was like, "Right, forget Megan's one. This is how you do it." And I was
Oh,
like, "Oh,
really?
oh yeah."
They said forget
I
your one.
Yeah, they're like, that sounds way too complicated. And everyone was
Oh,
just looking at each other. But I thought that most people did that, but apparently not. So yeah.
yeah. See, that's interesting. You put your hand up. You're not that shy, obviously. You wanted to tell everyone your process, and then you got like blasted for it or burnt down
Yeah.
for it. And
Yeah.
look, it works for you.
Yeah, it works for me. I've like some people at college used to do it as well, but not to the extent that I did it. Like
Yep.
some people would like write down the ones that were like really difficult to remember,
Yep.
and then they put headphones in and listen. But
Yep.
I
Yep.
can't I can't learn lines listening to it. I'm a visual learner.
Yep.
I have like a picture memory, so
Yep.
um I think that's why it helps. Yeah.
That's well, it's working for you, obviously. You can
Yeah.
tell. Now, before we wrap up, not too much
Yeah.
more. Some fun things now. Uh, Firstly, when you go to the movies, what is your favorite like snack or go
Mm.
to? What do you eat when you're at the movies in the cinema?
So it used to be, unfortunately, I'm now lactose and gluten intolerant.
Oh,
Gonna make
that
it
narrows
hard.
it down a bit.
Yeah. But before that, I used to love popcorn,
Yes.
um, sweet and salty. I used to
Yes.
just be sweet, salty because I love salt. Um, and now I'm kind of like a mixture of sweet and salty. Or ice cream. Um, and then Tango ice blasts are incredible. I absolutely love a
Don't know
Tango
what
ice.
those are. I haven't
It's
heard of those.
basically like a slush puppy, but
Okay.
they're kind of sour, a little bit
Okay.
sour. But they're so good.
Okay.
And I used to get them all the time when I went to the cinema. Yeah.
And what about when you're at the cinema? I love sitting sort of down the front, not right out the front, but in that front
Yeah.
section and in a certain area. What do you where do you sit or do you don't mind? Do you sit everywhere anywhere?
To me, I
Yeah.
don't care. I'll
You don't
sit
care?
anywhere. But I usually go with friends. And they're very particular and like, oh,
Yep.
I want to sit
Yep.
in the middle, or I want to sit on the end because I want to be able to stretch my legs out, or I want to be in the corner because I don't want people to sit next to me.
Yep.
Um, which that one I agree with a bit more. I don't like people sitting next to me.
Me,
But I'm
me
kind
either.
of like, I don't really mind, to be honest. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you'll find me near the front, to the left or to the right, so
yeah,
no one
I
comes
can
near
sit
me.
next to you. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a personal preference. Okay, so actors. I'm sure there's a list as long as your arm. Any actors that you admire or would love to work with?
Mm,
Just a couple that you grew up watching or something.
yeah.
You're a fan of.
So Jodie Comer and
Wow.
Zoran Jones.
Uh,
I love them. I think that's the re they are the people that inspired me to do drama and horrors, just because they're so naturalistic and
mm,
everything I watched, I was like completely like blown away with. I used to watch this show that had both Jodie Comer and Zoran Jones in, which is where I first heard about them. It was
yeah,
called Doc Foster. Um, and they were just incredible. And I remember sitting there watching it, being like, I want to be like that one day. I want to do that. I want to perform as well as that. Um, so I feel like they've kind of shaped how I prepare for roles and the sort of roles I go for.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I just absolutely love them. I watch anything they're in just because I think they're great. And she's really good at accents, Jodie Comer. She's really good at accents, which I
yeah.
think, cool. Yeah,
Love them both, both outstanding, but Jodie
yeah,
in particular, she
yes,
has come a long way in recent years. I
yeah,
really like her too.
yeah. She's very like inspiring, I guess, for
Mm,
me, just to. continue going and being like, this is what it could lead to. So yeah,
Can you surf?
no,
Uh,
no.
can you cook?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
I actually,
yeah.
before this, made a chili con carne that I'm having for dinner.
Ah,
Yeah.
excellent. So is that your specialty, or do you have another specialty that you
My
go to?
specialty is a bolognese, spaghetti
Ah,
bolognese.
all right.
Absolutely my favorite food. Um, and I cook it quite often.
Yeah.
And yeah, I bought a spaghetti bolognese gluten-free, milk-free one from M&S that I
Ah,
used to eat all the time, just because we had nothing in the fridge. So we quickly went to M&S because I know that's where I can get free from food. Um, and I was sat there and I was like, don't like it anymore. I prefer mine. So now I make my own bolognese all the time. So
oh.
yeah.
Well, when I'm in the UK next, I'm coming over. Okay.
Oh, wait.
I want bolognese.
Yes.
Sounds good. Sounds really good. What about a habit or something nobody knows about you? Is there something you do on a regular basis, or you can't go without? Anything like that? Superstition, maybe?
Oh, I salute magpies. Um, if I see if I see a magpie on its own, I think it's bad luck, so I have to salute it. Um, yeah, I'm kind of
I'm not
superstitious.
laughing at you. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
Sometimes when I'm like on the train on my own, or if I'm in the car with people who don't know that I do that, I'll do this thing where I'll scratch my head and then just so people don't think that I'm weird. Um, but yeah, that's a superstition I have, and I do salute the magpies. Yeah, my boyfriend
No.
thinks it's really funny. He's
Yeah.
like, "What?" And I'm like, "It's just the thing I do, okay?"
Well, I'm with Luke on that one, but I accept it. I think it's okay. Nothing wrong with
Thank
that.
you.
What's next? Is it true you're in the new Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah,
Blood, is it Blood and Honey Part Two or
yeah. I'm not like a main role. I'm just
okay,
like a raver, in the
okay,
rave scene.
right,
But there was actually the guy who plays Tigger. Um, I went to college with him. We were
okay,
in the same course, which is why I ended up becoming part of the extras because
yeah,
I was like, oh, like that's so cool. Like there's someone I went to college with. Like, I haven't actually seen the first film, but I thought it'd be really fun. And then when I got there, I some people I'd worked with were also extras, so
oh, good.
it was a fun little like meetup. I didn't get to
Reunion.
Pardon?
It was a
Yeah, little
reunion.
reunion. Yeah, I didn't get to see Lewis, though he wasn't on set. It was Pooh who was on set. But yeah, I know that some other people who I'm friends with had seen him. So yeah,
So when you were raving, you were dancing. It's a nightclub or a rave, obviously.
yeah.
Was there music playing, or were you dancing to silence?
No, they put music on.
Okay.
Um, I didn't know it was a rave scene. I just turned up, and then it turned out it was like this rave scene. And I have hip dysplasia, so my hip pops out every now and then.
Oh,
So I was like, oh no, I've got to, I've got to dance and I got a hip problem. This is going to be a long day. But they played music, like some like, hardcore like club music to get you like dancing.
yeah,
Um, and then at the end of the day, they did like when Pooh came in and was like killing everyone. I got blood splattered on my face.
right.
Uh, didn't come out. I was on the train. I genuinely think a woman on the train called the police because she
Oh,
got off at the next stop and she kept staring at me. And I
yeah.
had like blood like in my hair, like all over my face. And I was like, I look awful. Um, so yeah, my hair was like full of like this like sticky, like fake blood. But it was fun. So yeah,
That's just a badge of honor, though. Someone calling the cops because you had fake blood on you
I know.
from work.
I know. I was sat there and I was like, I got on, sat down. She like looked at me. She got her phone out very slowly,
Oh,
picked
okay.
it up, and I was like, is she calling like security or something? And then she
Yeah.
got off at the next station while staring at me like,
Wow. You should have popped your head out or your neck or that condition
I
you
should have
have.
popped my hip out.
Yeah, and really
Yeah,
freaked her.
yeah,
You would have made it on some meme probably if you had done that though. So that's
probably.
probably
Yeah.
not a good thing. Okay, so to finish it up, besides the Cellar and the Winnie the Pooh film, as a raver, what anything coming up you can share or what's next? You got any auditions, something in the bag maybe?
So in total feature films, I have 8 coming up.
8. Wow, you've been working hard.
Yeah. Um, some are purely as in like Jamie. I've networked with them and they've like invited me to
Oh,
become part of their feature film.
oh, good.
Those are I've seen on Facebook. The Chicago accent one.
Yeah,
I auditioned for and I got a recall and then booked the role. Um, I have a couple of TV series and a couple of short films. So it's quite busy. Like compared to last year,
yeah,
this is my busiest year ever acting. Um, so they're kind of like merging into one because I keep getting all these jobs and I'm like, oh my God, like there's so much going on.
yeah,
It's obviously like last year I'd have like, oh, I've got this month, oh, I've got this month, I've got all this time to prepare. Whereas I've got all these projects now and I'm like, right, I really need to like work on this one for this amount of time and then I need to do this one and then this one. Um, but this is the point I wanted to get to, so I'm grateful for the opportunities and just really
yeah.
excited to get going. Yeah.
Are they British productions or UK productions, including the
All of
TV?
them are UK indie
Yeah.
productions.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so yeah, they're all most of them are all dramas,
Yeah.
which is obviously what I my acting genre that is my favorite.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah,
Well, good to hear. I look forward to seeing, if not a couple, all of those in the near future. I'm sure we'll talk again when the
mhm,
seller gets closer to release, or if you got
yeah,
something else.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, Megan.
Thank you for inviting me
No,
on
you're very
your.
welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.